I've been postponing this for a while, but I've decided to share my story with you. Something profound and excruciating happened to a younger version of me. I was a teenager. It was just a month before my 18th birthday. And I was in a band, I had a band, and I wanted to get a guitar, electric guitar, for my 18th birthday. That was my dream. But life had other plans. Anyway, it happened one night when I was walking my girlfriend to a bus. And after that, I've decided to go to a local cafe bar to meet my friends. And someone was celebrating his birthday. When I met them, they were all drunk. I was the only one that was not drinking that night. Anyway, we decided that it's time to go. And instead of me just walking home, because my home is near that bar, we decided to get into a car. One of my friends, my neighbor, was driving, and he just got his license, his driver license. And it was really crazy when we jumped in the car. We were quarreling who will sit next to the driver. And I was the one sitting there, finally. So we went, instead of just going home, we went up the hill to drive one of our friends there. And it was on our way back, there was a steep curve that's leaning in the opposite side instead, on the right side. So we were loud, we were listening to the music, and it was all crazy. And then, just on that curve, I just turned my head to the windshield and I saw bright light. And then it happened. We had a crash. And it was crazy, of course. I woken up, I felt, I think, blood in my mouth and the grains of dirt. And I was lying, as they told me, I was lying on the pavement or on the asphalt. I remember that I got up. I managed to get up. And I saw a crash site. One of my friends was still in the car. He was unconscious. And there was blood leaping out from his mouth. And I saw other of my friends. They were trying to wake him up, but I said, "Don't touch him, leave him be." I thought there may be some injuries. Leave his head down so the blood can pour. Anyway, I didn't yet realize what happened to me. But I couldn't move my right arm. And I thought, it's okay. Nothing. It's nothing. But then ambulance arrived, and instead of they took me in the ambulance. I said, "Why me?" I didn't realize. But when we got to the hospital, then after a doctor saw me, and and examined me. And I said I can't move my right arm. I saw his expression on his face. It was, he was worried. He was frightened even. And then they decided to move me to the nearest, to the city hospital, because at that time I was living in a small town. Anyway, at that point I realized that it is something, how can I put it, that it's not that easy, that there is something, that my injury was bigger than I thought. So I will start inquiring what's going on, what will happen to my arms. So I was maybe, I think I didn't yet realize how bad the injuries were. But later I found out that my artery was broken and the blood was pouring into my body. So they moved me in ambulance to city hospital. And I was sitting there or lying, I don't know. I had some time while they were driving me to reflect. But I think I was starting to be afraid of what's going on. Anyway, I woke up somewhere in that city hospital. I was lying on a bed, no one was near me. But I got up and there was a mirror nearby, so I saw my face in the mirror. It was blood all over my face. And I found a towel somewhere and I brushed my face, brushed the blood off. There was nothing special, I think a couple of cuts. So I went back to bed. And the next scene, I woke up again and I didn't realize, but they were preparing me for surgery. And at some point, my parents arrived. And they were carrying me on a bed. And while we were passing them, I said, "Don't worry, everything is going to be okay." So I was really an optimist. Anyway, that's it. That's the first part of the story. I was in a hospital and they were preparing me for a surgery. I woke up a couple of times and it was crazy. So I didn't know what was going on at some point. Okay. I will continue this story in the second part. Until then, remember who you truly are. You are love and light. You are everything. I love you.